So, hello guys. Welcome to Bears Bowley Go, Disco Decks, Lower Decks, Season 2. The show where I definitely remembered the name.
Maybe. This certainly isn't the second take because of technical issues.
So, we weren't able to record last week, so you're getting a double bill this week of Star Trekky Lower Decky goodness.
Mm. Not two episodes, but two episodes of Lower Decks reviewed within the
Yes.
same episode.
So a
So
bumper episode. An old
it's a
fashioned EastEnders omnibus, or Coronation Street omnibus, if you will.
it is this is Sunday morning goodness.
Yes. A whole week of
So
soaps
a
in
whole
an
week of
immense
soaps
amount
in
of hours.
yeah. Um so I mean this is actually how we started the show. When Lower Decks was first out.
Yes.
We
And
did double
also,
bills.
how we did the first,
First episode of this season.
yeah,
Yeah. So we'll start logically with episode 5 because it comes before episode 6.
yes,
James, it was a while ago that I watched
yes.
episode 5. Could you remind me?
Aye, because I definitely haven't already done that.
No,
And
not in the
embarrassment,
previous take of
an
this.
embarrassment of Duplas is the name of the episode, and the
Mm.
description is: Mariner and Boimler try to track down a location of a legendary Starfleet party while the bridge crew deals with an insecure alien diplomat.
Mm.
So yes, there's a diplomat on board who duplicates whenever he feels insecure about something.
Yeah.
That is a vibe.
Which is
That is a vibe.
it is a vibe. It is and like as funny as it is, it's a very Star Trek thing.
Yeah.
Like because it's another one of those like dealing with real world issues of insecurity and stuff like that and what have you. Like so as funny as it is and as silly as it is, and obviously they use it as a nice jumping off
Yeah.
point for yet another daft episode. It actually really does fit with the ethos of Star Trek. Like, so I think it was really nicely done.
And you have Captain
The
Freeman thinking she's going to be the first California class invited to for want of a better term, I guess, the captain's ball, the captain's banquet,
Yeah,
like a big captain
because
party.
where they're taking this diplomat is to a space station. It does appear to be a Starfleet space station, but potentially with some of the decks rented out. But we'll get to that in a bit when we talk about Boimler and um, God, what's her name? Always forget this.
Mariner.
Mariner. Um, then so there seems to be some sort of diplomatic convention going on, which is why the diplomat's there. But I think also the secret Star Trek Starfleet captain's party, because I don't think the
Just
because
had
it's
a
at the same
thought.
destination.
Is her
Mm.
dad Admiral Mariner then?
No, it's her. Oh, as in Mariner's dad. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Is his surname the Admiral's surname Mariner? Must be like
I
because
don't know.
obviously the captain's surname's Freeman.
Hmm. I don't know.
So in theory, I guess the Admiral is
Or
Mariner?
or
Or actually taking on a
as
different name so no one knows who her parents
well, I
are.
mean potentially, especially with like how she's tried to hide
Yeah.
her parentage, especially as she's been kicked off many a boat.
Aye.
Right, and finally has to serve under her mother because she's the only one that can keep an eye on her. So, so yeah, so the captain makes the point of being very excited because she believes that her and her crew will be the first bridge crew from a California class ship to be invited to one of these big swanky captain's parties. Um, and of course, the California class, lovely design in that it's
Yeah.
the parts bin waste of Starfleet ships. It's very much the cut and
And
paste. Um,
speaking of design, the
mm,
C plot this week is Tandy and Rutherford building a Quark brand
mm,
model ship of the California class with little
yes.
tiny functional warp cores and
Mm. And phaser
laser
banks
banks.
and torpedoes and all
And
sorts of
my
stuff. Like
God,
it's
I want one.
oh god, yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously they couldn't do a real one, but to that spec
Yeah.
anyway,
Ah, man,
obviously,
I've never
because
tried.
warp cores don't exist.
I might look see if there's any well-priced
Mm.
Star Trek model ships out there and give one a crack.
I mean, you could, I,
I
they
mean,
could totally make a droney one.
this was my
Um,
latest build. A Gundam.
Orange and black.
Aye.
Hmm, like a bruised orange. Mm.
Um, but yeah, and then
So yeah,
you've got
I was going
Mariner.
to talk about Quark for a little bit
Oh yeah,
longer.
yeah.
Yeah,
That is a big
yeah.
brand at this point in time.
I love that he's a big
Yeah,
brand because obviously, like, at the end of DS9, we touched on this last episode, but
yeah.
Rom becomes the Grand Nagus, and we don't know if he's still the Grand Nagus at this point. Um, but
It's only about four.
and
It's only I think about 4 years after the end of DS9.
I think it's a bit later than that.
Because someone's working out for maths on. I saw someone on a. I can't remember who it was, but someone had a Twitter thread I was reading where they were like saying how they'd love to see a kid who'd grown up on like the Enterprise D and just had
Mm.
no interest in being in Starfleet. Like you'd expect them to
Yeah,
become
yeah,
a
yeah.
Starfleet kid, but for like, why? My bar mitzvah was interrupted by the Borg. Like, why would I want to
Yeah.
be in? And then someone said, and then they realized actually it would be brilliant if it was uh, O'Brien and
Oh, Keiko's daughter. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, O'Brien and Keiko's daughter.
how it'd be great if
Yeah.
like because there's no way as great parents as they are, there's
Mm.
no way that kid grows up like with
Yeah.
everything that happens to her parents and stuff. A-okay.
Mm.
So someone's like saying that it'd be great if like you met her in something like Lower Decks and she just has no interest in being in Starfleet at all.
Mm.
But some point, so then they realise actually she'd only be about 14 by the time Lower Decks is happening.
She could be on a school trip.
Yeah,
So, I mean, they've also they do mention Chief O'Brien. He's
yeah,
obviously a hero
in the future.
um, so
But
there's a
you've seen the O'Brien comics, haven't you? That someone makes.
no.
There's a series of webcomics that are just like a day in the life of Miles O'Brien. I'll send you a link to
Yeah.
them later. They're brilliant.
Mm. Oh, maybe we have a look at that then. Um, but yeah, it's a good idea. I have seen a date because there is an official date for it.
Yeah.
It's on one of the like
I mean, it makes sense because
um
obviously you've got Bing has obviously recently been promoted to captain
mm,
of
I mean,
Titan.
obviously it's after Nemesis,
Yeah,
which is after Deep Space Nine finishes, um, and it's after Voyager finishes as well. So Voyager finishes about 3 years after Deep Space Nine finishes.
yeah,
Because so Janeway's a big deal at that point, but
the white uniforms are still in play. The white formal
yeah,
uniforms.
the white formal uniforms, but then they're a classic look, aren't they?
They are, yes. And this
So
this show is for someone who loves a good Starfleet uniform not being worn properly. This show is great for it. There would be the rolled up sleeves, the like thingy open.
Yeah.
The I had a theory about uniforms actually.
mm,
I wonder if more military oriented ships took on the grey shoulders, while
yeah,
more operations. This is like. So what you're seeing here is a new version of the operations style uniform. These are the ships. These are support ships. These
yeah,
are exploratory ships still, which is an evolution of the TNG era uniform. But ships that were focused more on combat
military.
took on the grey kind of
I
shouldered
mean, it
uniforms.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is why you see the Titan with the grey movie uniforms.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, it totally makes sense. Totally makes sense because, like, you would have ships that would be like not science vessels,
Yeah,
but certainly somewhere in the middle, like the what the Enterprise D was meant to be,
Yeah.
which was like a float, like a flying town essentially. Um, and then yeah, you would have more military class ones. That wouldn't necessarily be full military, like, but certainly a bit more like
also
if there's
worth
any ass kicking to be done, we'll
Worth
do it.
noting, Richard Kind plays Dupla, the uh, the Dupla of this, and God, Richard Kind's so good.
Yeah, he's really really good.
He's just one of those people, like, he does. He's
He
very
plays the same
versatile.
voice every time. He's versatile within doing essentially the same character in a way
Yeah,
sometimes.
but it's
So
like
like,
he can really turn on. He doesn't do it here, obviously. It's not that kind of role, but he can really
yeah.
turn on sinister when he wants as well. Like, you can really buy him as this
Mm.
very sinister villain sometimes, like in certain roles.
Well, I mean, even in this, like when it gets to the point of like the Duplas are overrunning the ship because there's just far too many of
Yeah,
them. Like, there's enough shift in his voice, that it does become more of a threat,
yeah.
um, because obviously they're beginning to just completely suffocate the ship. So yeah,
And
so
then
it's
obviously the solution is you have to admonish him,
yeah,
make him
you've got to
angry, and they.
yeah, yeah. Which the implication there is that no one knew that was the truth.
Yeah,
Potentially even the Duplas. Um, so like the Cerritos does actually do something quite incredible in that
yeah.
situation. But then, spoilers, they don't get into the party. So we'll go to the B story now.
Or the A story, depending on your view.
I
I
think
think
it's
this is actually the A story, if
possibly,
only because it has our two main.
yeah, okay. I suppose because they are the lower decks
Yeah,
characters as opposed to, yeah, if anything, the B story would be about the bridge crew.
yeah. Like, this would be the B story in Star Trek, but it's the A story in Lower
Mm.
Decks. Like,
Yes,
and
yes.
that's a lot of what this show does. The B story is quite frequently what would be
Mm,
the main story in any other Star Trek show,
mm,
and we're seeing what everyone else is getting up to while that's happening.
yeah.
But yeah, so they realise that because the Titan would have been invited to the captain's party,
Mm,
and that the Titan can't make it,
yeah, because
Boimler
it's
in
out.
theory could get
Could be, yeah,
be his
invited.
be his
He could be his
teleportation,
doppelganger.
yeah, be his teleport
Mm.
clone. If Boimler is not the teleport clone, who knows?
Well, either way, yes. Who does know? Who does know? Um, so of course that plan does work, because he does get
So I was
access
just
once
trying to
they
sort my light out
once
a
they
bit.
eventually find out where the party is,
Yes.
because they have to go through a series of tasks for one of Mariner's old
Yeah, we see another bit of
acquaintances.
Mamna's dubious past here,
Yeah,
and it's
where
gun running.
they it seems to be it
Yeah,
seems to be. Which, if anything, just lends more credence to the she's a Section 31
yeah, because
spy, that she
she
was
is
undercover.
100% loyal to Starfleet, right?
Mm,
Like, for all her rule breaking,
yeah.
she's Starfleet through and through.
Mm,
So yeah, the idea would be that if she was in the bunch of gun runners, she would be undercover.
yeah. She'd totally be Section 31.
Like, yeah,
Mm.
I do wonder if we are going to get that reveal as the truth one day.
Mm, possibly.
But
I mean, even if she didn't know,
yeah,
like, I mean, it could very well be that she was such a rogue that Section 31 manipulated her to doing the things that she thought that she wasn't supposed to
yeah.
do. Um, and yeah, she ended up like just being a bit of a stooge for Section 31.
So yeah, they
So there's an
find.
excellent car chase
I love the
through
joke that they
through
find the
the.
party and it's just in the ballroom.
It's
Like,
just in the ballroom. Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, Boimler gets in.
It's enough.
What were you
Sorry,
gonna
go on.
say? Sorry.
I just say, like it's another nice look at an element of Star Trek,
Yeah,
um, that you don't often see because
potentially
obviously in
civilian life on.
civilian life on a Starfleet space station,
Yeah,
because obviously these things are huge. They are absolutely like monstrously big. Um, like some of the larger ones are probably the same size as a small moon.
Yeah,
And they so of course they wouldn't necessarily be fully populated by strictly Starfleet um,
yeah. People will live on them.
employees. Of course, they would like rent some of the space out to businesses and stuff like that. Because obviously that would also be how I know Starfleet, in theory, or the United Federation of Planets, in theory, doesn't have money itself, but it does need some form of
Yeah,
money for when they do have to trade with and of course, like when the various Starfleet crew have shore leave,
yeah,
they've got to have money to go and spend that money on planets that like aren't technically part of Starfleet or the United Federation of Planets. So they've got to like
Latinum, isn't it?
so. Hmm?
Latinum.
Uh, well, that's one of the forms
Yeah,
of currency. Yeah, it's like it's but they it's the preferred one for Ferengis, and of course they're the ones that run a lot of the businesses.
but then you've got yeah. So Boimler gets in, but Mariner doesn't.
Mm,
Boimler realizes, yeah, pretty much everything sucks without Mariner, right? like,
yeah,
um, it doesn't do much for him, so he goes and finds Mariner in a bar, and it turns out it's the bar Kirk and
Kirk and Spock went to.
yeah, because they also tried to
Wait,
break into the captain's ball once,
mm,
right? Like,
mm. You'd imagine when like quite early on, because even though at that point
it would have
they
to have
would have
been like,
had,
obviously it'd been when Kirk had the Enterprise,
yeah,
because that's
but
the only reason Kirk
which,
and Spock would be
yeah,
together at that moment. Or I
which
think
of
it
course,
also is potentially the implication that it's a bunch of highfalutin snobs who attend the captain's ball, right?
mm,
They're potentially
yeah,
actually not, because Riker's not there, right? Riker's off actually doing stuff.
yeah,
Like, I think it's the implication that it's not necessarily
the
the,
top
the
captains.
great
It's
captains who attend it. It's,
yeah, it's the ones who think they're great.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's your ones who
Um,
eventually become admirals who turn evil. like,
mm, or lazy, which is
yeah.
just as bad. Yeah, on the whole, like a wonderful episode.
What I
With
loved was,
surprisingly good depth as well. Like
yeah,
actually in this one, like they
I
really do cram a lot into their 23
they
minutes
do,
or whatever it is.
and I love the clothes. I loved
Mm,
that you've got the bridge crew coming down,
mm,
not being able to get in themselves, and then going and just hanging out in the bar with
yeah,
Mariner and Boimler. Right? It's a nice moment.
it is. Yeah, it is definitely. Because as much as anything else, with the turmoil that Mariner puts her mother through, like
Yeah,
it's it's quite nice to just see the mother-daughter relationship
yeah,
be closer, but without them losing their independence
and
in that
also
situation.
Boimler getting something that he craves naturally, like interaction with a bridge crew, right?
Yeah,
Recognition
that
from a
little
bridge crew,
taste of it. Yeah.
but getting
Mm,
it through, yeah, through like actual camaraderie and natural means,
mm.
as opposed to like the very forcible way he tries to usually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good episode.
Mm. So on to episode 6.
Yes, which was the Spy Humongous,
Mm.
which is a nice pun.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, another
What's
good
the
episode. So
what's the plot of this one,
it's
James?
anomaly consolidation day on the USS Cerritos leaves the lower decks with mixed emotions. Captain Freeman attempts to negotiate peace on the Packlet homeworld.
Mm.
So 3 plots again this week, kind
Mm.
of. I'd argue 2 of them have the same plot, but just from slightly different
Perspective.
angles. We're getting more and more dedicated bridge crew plots these days, I feel.
Mm.
And yeah, you've got Captain Freeman trying to negotiate peace with the Packlets, and
Mm.
the
Well, I mean,
Packlets.
as you said about the previous episode, I think the term lower decks can refer to. I don't know whether you said it in this take, whether it was the one that we lost. But
how
the
how
term,
this ship is the lower is the lower
is
decks
the
of
lower decks of
Starfleet.
Starfleet.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So this, so I don't mind them
No,
fleshing
and the
the
bridge crew are
bridge crew
great.
out. To be
I
honest,
like them
yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Um,
I was saying
so
to I was talking about lower decks with Connor last night about why it's so good. He's not
mm,
watched any of it yet. He thinks he needs to watch more stuff first. But
mm,
I was saying like it's, and he asked me how does it compare with something like the Orville, and I love the Orville, and the Orville is
mm,
clearly made with a deep love for TNG.
mm,
But I think the key point is that this show is funny, but it doesn't break Star Trek.
no, no.
Like it is 100% of Star Trek. It's not something that's like on the outskirts, kind of not quite canon. Like
Yeah, I mean the
it,
Orville or that film that
Galaxy
came out in
Quest.
the Galaxy Quest. They are perfect um, satires of Star
I would say
Trek.
Orville isn't
The
quite
obvious.
as. I would go so far as say Orville isn't really a satire of Star Trek.
Mm,
It is Seth MacFarlane wanting to make his own TNG that's a little bit funnier.
yeah, yeah.
There isn't much
But I
satire
think
in there
they.
because it takes it. It doesn't.
Mm,
Orville doesn't really lampoon Star Trek.
no, no.
If anything, in an era where the very first Dark season of Discovery came out, Orville felt like classic
Mm,
Star Trek, but it's still not Star Trek.
yeah.
It's its own thing.
No, it's a love letter almost.
Yeah,
It's almost like when you see those big budget
yeah,
fan shows on YouTube
yeah.
that like it's one of those. And I think in a way Galaxy Quest was similar. Like I think it
I'm
was
really
more
dark,
yeah,
but
you keep getting really dark.
yeah, but I can't be done
Um
putting a light on, so this is just how we're
no,
living.
that's fine. Um
Power cut.
I think I think Galaxy Quest obviously was more of a lampooning of Star Trek, but at the same time there was definitely a love there for
Yeah.
it. Because it's and I think that's why Galaxy
Well, I
Quest
think
is still such a good film. Like when you go back and watch it, like there's a care there. Um, but you're right that like the big difference is that Lower Decks is Star
yeah,
Trek.
Lower Decks is a
Like
sitcom in the Star Trek world,
yeah,
and it doesn't like. For example, I know it's probably very good, but it's obviously locked in a vault, and we're never really going to see it. But I get feeling like
mm,
Detours, that Star Wars Detours show that was coming out before.
I've I'm sure I've heard that they
Now, one episode leaked, and we all thought that maybe it was going to be
mm,
seen, but it looks like no.
mm,
um,
maybe they will.
but
Maybe they will.
that wasn't going to. It was going to be a comedy using Star Wars, but it wasn't going to be of Star Wars. If you get me, it would
Okay.
have.
So it wouldn't have been
It was
canon,
slightly
essentially.
more. It was slightly more Star Warsy, Robot Chicken Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. It was going to. I think that would have broken Star Wars to make its jokes, and I'm not saying breaking
yeah.
something to make jokes is a bad thing.
No,
It's a
no.
valid like. It would have. Star Wars would almost have been the butt of the joke,
Yeah.
while in Lower Decks, Star Trek is not the butt of a joke.
No, no.
It's telling jokes within that Star Trek framework
Mm,
and being very, very successful at it.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, because it's. I think actually it's time. I was just thinking just then that like I think actually the length of it we just said that they cram quite a lot into
Yeah,
23 minutes. Like, but I actually think that 23 minutes is one of the reasons that it works because of the pace it has to keep.
yeah,
It's a good pace for humor.
it
Like
is.
there's a
That's
good
why.
reason. Yeah, I mean there's a very good reason that there are very 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 few like 1 hour sitcoms
And when they
or
are, they
40.
become more dramedies.
Yeah, because like you've got to like it's hard to keep that pace up. Um
Yeah,
and so with Lower Decks, like you can have all these like obviously in a 45-minute period on TNG, a lot of ridiculous things can happen, but because it's slower, you can play it as a drama. Whereas if you speed it up, if you essentially play it at double time, which is what this is doing, then it naturally becomes more suitable to be a comedy. So if you can get the writing correct, so that you can deliver the comedy while keeping some drama and acknowledging like Trek for being what it
Yeah,
is, like, and that's what they're doing, and it's truly like it's masterful TV.
yeah.
It's I don't know how long it'll run, and I don't
It's
want it to run
definitely
too
got a
long.
third season.
Yeah, I mean,
Thing
the
is,
thing is,
I'd like 7. I would like it to hit for
hit the Star Trek 7. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because I am
Even though only three of the
yeah,
5 seasons, well, 5 shows have actually hit it, or 6 or whatever it is
but
now.
I'm in no rush to leave these characters yet.
No, no, I think as long as they get time,
Yeah,
which I think with it being through streaming networks and because Star Trek itself has a handful of different shows on the go now,
yeah.
like, and it's only 10 episodes a season. I think they're gonna get time. They're gonna get the freedom
It
to explore.
it also
Um,
again is that bastion of classic silly, like because Star Trek silly,
yeah,
like it is like
mm,
Star Trek is not. It's not super serious. I mean, it occasionally is, but for the most part, it's not super serious hard sci-fi, right? Like,
for the most part.
and as
Yeah,
long as the live action shows are plunging heavy drama for what they want to be, right?
yeah, yeah.
With lots of character conflict, lots of like, for want of a better term, a little bit of edginess.
Mm,
As long as they're trying to be modern premium television,
yeah,
it's nice to have this little pocket of almost classic
yeah.
Trek.
Mm.
Like, and I'm
Although
hoping
again, I
Strange
mean,
New Worlds
like,
becomes that as well. I'm hoping Strange New Worlds goes the route of being more classical than Discovery and Picard are.
I have a feeling it will. I think Strange New Worlds is going to be
I think it's going to be
the
periodical.
family show.
Yeah. I think it's going to
Um,
be a planet a week kind of.
yeah,
Not necessarily
which
a
would be
planet, but,
great.
you know, like
Yeah, the villain of the week thing. Like,
scientific mishap of a week.
yeah, that sort of thing. Like, it'll be the procedural cop show
Yeah.
of Star Trek, which I'm totally down for.
Yeah, because again, it's a different flavour.
Yeah, yeah. Have a bit of classic Trek.
Yeah.
With Strange New Worlds and fantastic. And I mean, in the name itself, Strange New Worlds.
Yeah.
Like, let's go and find some Strange New Worlds.
I think it's going
Like,
to be, you know, those episodes of season 2 of Discovery that felt like like a bit more old school Trek. I think it's got to be that as a show, basically. So,
Yeah.
like, the one where we went to the church and discovered, like, and things like that, like, yeah, I'm looking forward to Strange New Worlds. But yeah, on with this episode, we've not actually really discussed it. So yeah,
the Packlids.
yeah,
Yeah.
she has to go make peace with him. It goes about as well as you anticipate.
You see,
I can't
we
make
were
that decision. I don't have a big enough hat.
Yeah.
And I love how they keep calling her Janeway
Yes.
because they can't perceive of other Starfleet. Like,
Yeah.
every ship is the Enterprise.
Yeah. Every male captain is Picard, and every female captain is Janeway. So they go to the Pakled homeworld called Pakled Planet.
And a prisoner escapes to the
to the ship, to the Cerritos. And at some point that prisoner disappears.
Yeah, he's not a prisoner. He's a spy.
No, he's a spy. He's a Pakled spy. Which comes with everything that you'd expect from the Paklids, being how absolutely dumb they are.
Like they instantly realise he's a spy pretty much instantaneously, right? I love that. I love the moment because we get to see a bit more of the new security officer. The I know they're not the Darmok guys, but the Darmok guys.
Yeah.
And obviously, I like, and he makes a comment that obviously means this guy's a spy, but it's done in that kind of metaphor.
Yeah.
And he vanishes. So him and Ransom have to hunt down, find the spy. And then you've also got the lower decks crew minus Boimler, because Boimler's found an inn with the red shirts.
Yes, which is a nice joke because
Yeah,
obviously, like in TNG, no, not
red
TNG,
shirts is command class.
in TOS,
Oh
and
yeah,
early TNG actually, the red shirts are the ones that always die, and then it's that joke of,
yeah. Are you sure you
and
want to call
they
yourself
even make
that? But obviously by TNG era, red shirts is command.
yeah, but so they riff on that by making it that now red shirts are still just as useless as they've always been, but by making them command class
Yeah,
essentially, they keep themselves completely out of trouble. And there's no chance of them dying because all they do is just try and command and inspire.
yeah.
Like they stay out of like it's almost like it's survival of the fittest in a way. And
And you've got boy, obviously Bummer joins him. He gets all done up and made to look like captain material, and they're kind of vying for a spot as acting captain
yeah,
on the deck
for
for like a handover moment.
mm,
Uh, and they basically, yeah, they teach him how to make speeches and all of that. And then you've got the other three of them having to deal with Anomaly Consolidation Day, which is where they
yes.
have to go round all the bridge officer crew's rooms and collect all the shit they shouldn't have.
Yeah. Stuff that's outrageously dangerous that should
Yes.
have been either incinerated or put into special holding and stuff like that.
And
And so of course we see a wonderful collection of artifacts that we've seen in Star Trek's
yeah.
history,
And
that have caused like the things that would have been entire episodes just by themselves,
yeah.
in the aforementioned
And
Science Goes Wrong
Tendi is
of
really
the week.
excited about it because she gets to hang out with her friends all day, right?
Yeah.
But Rutherford and Mariner are significantly less enthused about the whole situation. And there's a moment
Especially,
where when she gets swallowed, when Tendi gets swallowed by the like lava slug thing, the goo slug,
yeah.
that had me in hysterics. Just the way the slug screamed, just the way it moved, it's like there's just something about that whole thing just hit
Yeah.
spot on for me. Even though
Yeah,
she gets pooped
it was
out the
just
other end of
stupid
it.
enough.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean that was another thing. Like, I know it's a tiny touch and it's slightly gross, but deliberately so. But
yeah,
it was another little thing that, like, because it's an adult cartoon comedy, they can get away with that
yeah.
Star Trek mainline can't. That they actually had a moving anus, like they had
Yeah,
a proper sphincter form in this gel creature, so that it can shit out
and I
Tendi.
love it becomes a case of like how much can Tendi take before she's brought down to Mariner and Rutherford's level, right?
Yeah.
Like how much does it take to kill her optimism? And it turns out it's not any of the actual terrible things that are happening to her.
It's the
It's
people.
it's Mariner and Rutherford who eventually just wear her down, and then she turns into a giant praying mantis or
Yes.
scorpion thing,
Scorpion. Yeah, yeah.
and ends up crossing over with Boimler's story at that point, where Boimler proves that he is actually command material
Yes.
because he, in
Because
his own
he
way,
realizes, because he's such a nerd, he realizes what's done it to her, and
yeah,
he knows the cure to it, like because it was a mood crystal
yeah.
essentially.
So
So
he laughs her down by doing
yeah.
embarrassing things, right? And the leader of the command guys is disgusted by this, but it works. He did what needed to be done.
Yeah, save the ship.
Yeah, which is
Well,
what command should do.
yeah, while wasting a load of food credits. It's
And
um,
what you so then you get the moment where he's been kicked out of a command squad, and the red shirts, and Ransom comes down and he's like, "Oh, I like to." The leader's like, "I like to be acting captain," and that's yeah, whatever. But then gives Boimler a moment of like recognition, like good thinking
Yeah,
in the
that was
mess.
some real command
Yeah.
there. Mm.
And I think the other three then realise like, oh, this was a waste of like, why are we doing what
Yeah, yeah.
we're doing? But I love then the punchline of like what the acting captain job was.
Yeah.
It's like Ransom leaves the deck, he sits down, and then Shax just walks in, like, get the hell out of my seat.
Yeah. It's literally a 3-second job.
Yeah.
So it's just so that somebody is on the bridge, at at that point,
Yeah.
just in case a button needs to be pressed.
And they discover that the Packlids are going to try and blow up Earth. Which I'm going to guess is potentially going to be the final of this season.
I assume so, yeah. I love the Packlids.
I like that, even like in the enemies, right? The enemies of this series, like the big enemies are the Packlids. Like it's not the Borg, it's not the.
But then they are, in their own way, a formidable group of enemies. I mean, they did like give even Picard a bit of grief.
And they're perfect for comedy. I mean, they're big enough that the Titan is out there dealing with them.
Yeah.
Which is probably one of the most formidable warships in the Federation.
In the Federation's history, like on even on a grading scale, like it's one of the most devastating things they've ever created.
It's like a small, fast Prometheus.
Yeah, and it. I mean, obviously, it's an advancement of Defiant technology as well.
Yeah.
So
Defiant,
it's
Defiant but larger.
Yeah, it's like a big Defiant, and they but I think that I think also as we were talking about before with the California class being essentially a parts bin ship.
Yeah.
Like the Packard ships are parts bin ships because they
literally.
they literally steal bits and put them onto their ships. They don't have their own technology.
Which is the Packard TNG episode? I might rewatch it. What season is it roughly?
Oh, I can't remember. Yeah. You'd be able to look it up.
Yeah, I'll be able to find it.
Yeah. And they so it's quite a nice. It's a very good choice, as much as it is excellent for humor and comedy. Although again, it's an alien species, a bit like early Ferengi was, that could go very wrong, because the wrong writers could very much make them look like they have some sort of mental disability. And so you've got to walk that very fine line of not being offensive while being an adult comedy. And I think they do a great job, because it's literally that they are dumb. It isn't that it's like that there's anything wrong with them per se. Not that having a mental disability is wrong, obviously, but there's nothing. There's no real world parallel that they are drawing on. That they are like potentially, there's nothing problematic there. Which is very admirable. Again, obviously, like we've said before, I think Star Trek realized what they did with the Ferengi early on, and they made sure that they grew the Ferengi through TNG and definitely through Deep Space Nine. And now obviously it is referenced in Lower Decks. That Ferengis are more than what people think they are. Yes, it's very nice, very good.
I think
top-notch writing.
On that note, that's a
I
review.
I don't think they'll ever win awards for this, but I think it's a shame. I think
this kind of show doesn't win a.
Oh no, it doesn't win awards.
Yeah.
I think I know. I mean, sitcoms, like obviously at the Emmys they have a special sitcom, like.
But animate, unless it's for Simpsons, animated stuff doesn't tend to.
Yeah, but I mean this is this
Yeah,
is
it's
well, or Family Guy or
yeah,
South Park or something like that. Like this is as good as any of them.
yeah.
Like
I mean,
no, I'd
I,
say it is.
no, it's worth noting that I think there's very few shows in history as and all of history as good as Simpsons at its prime.
Mm,
Like Simpson, that 10-year window of Simpsons at its prime
mm,
is potentially some of the best television ever made. The problem
mm.
with Simpsons is it's gone on for 30 years and about 20 years past its prime. But
And because it's so old, you go back to some of the older episodes, and like Simpsons started as a much more adult thing. It was closer to what we think
yeah,
of as Family Guy,
like
really. And so you go back, and there are some episodes that now would be problematic in modern terms, and they are like they are products of their time.
that
Um,
said, see about I'd say season 2 to 10 of Simpsons.
mm,
Yeah, I think it's potentially one of the best sitcoms ever
mm.
made. So, yeah, it's up there as I think like we made that. Let's say Simpsons at its prime is the best TV show, and it's certainly the best American TV show.
It's an interesting argument to make. I can't disagree, but I also don't agree. I can't necessarily.
I think the biggest problem with it though is that
Mm,
everyone's thought of The Simpsons is just muddied by how long it. Now it's just that thing
yeah.
that's always existed and no one watches anymore. Apart from obviously some people clearly
Mm,
do, otherwise it wouldn't still be going.
yeah.
But like, and even I even think like from what I hear, like you can turn on Simpsons and it's still a perfectly enjoyable
Yes.
show. It's just not
Mm, mm,
what it was and hasn't been
yeah.
in a long time.
No. No.
Like,
I think that's where South Park has saved itself with
see, I've never been a massive South
like
Park fan.
I've never been a massive
The
South Park
problem with
fan, but
South Park is
I really did appreciate the early seasons
the
actually.
big
And
problem with
then
South Park is as comedy, it regularly punches down
mm,
as opposed to up.
I think it used to punch. I think nowadays
It
it's
also
because they actually write and shoot shoot it the week it comes out now. Um,
the other.
they
I
they can be right on the nose with modern
I
politics
also do
and
think
current
South
affairs.
Park leads culturally to some of our modern issues, in the fact that it very much popularized like but both sides are terrible. It's like one side doesn't want like it. It has the I don't know. I have this isn't the show to discuss it, but
No, 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 no.
I have issues with South Park.
I mean, yeah, I can totally understand the issues. I think that it's. I put it in there because I think it is one of the
Oh
greats, even if it isn't like,
yeah,
and especially now, like the fact that they are like they've managed to because of how simplistic their art style is, they've managed to get it so that they can make an episode the week it comes out,
yeah,
which is mad. Like, and it just completely changes the dynamic of what a cartoon series is.
yeah,
Um,
but
and
yeah,
um, so I think that like with Lower Decks, I mean
yeah.
I
I love
said it.
Lower
I'm going to
Decks.
stand by it. I think it's as good as any of them at their best, and I think part of the reason for that is yes, it is Star Trek and
Yeah,
the challenge of riding that knife edge of delivering humor, but while not shitting on Star Trek. Um, as
I
you said,
love.
this is very much in Star Trek rather than breaking Star Trek to make a
Yeah,
comedy.
I love it. And on that note, we should go
Hmm.
before the sun goes completely down on me
Yeah,
in the morning.
yeah.
And yeah, live long and prosper, guys.
Live long and prosper. We'll see you soon.